In 2004, a woman tried to seduce her dad on national TV. Somehow, networks said yes, and we all just watched it. These are the most unhinged reality shows from the early 2000s that would get you immediately canceled nowadays. Welcome to Cringe Capsule, where we rewind the chaotic history of 1990 to 2019, one awkward flashback at a time. There was a time, not too long ago, network television executives looked at a group of small, emotionally vulnerable children and said, "Yeah, let's film that." When plastic surgery was packaged as empowerment and eating cow testicles was marketed as romance. Welcome to the 2000s, and we survived it but barely. This is the era when reality TV had no chill, no filter, and quite possibly no legal department. Today, we're cracking open the video vault and revisiting the most unhinged, ethically bankrupt, and gloriously cringe reality shows that somehow made it to air. This is They Actually Aired This, 2000s Reality Show Edition. Kid Nation, 2007. Lord of the Flies, CBS Edition. Okay, let's start with a little show called Kid Nation. You know how most reality shows rely on drama from adults? Yeah, CBS looked at that formula and said, what if we removed all the grown-ups and replaced them with traumatized 10-year-olds? Kid Nation was basically Survivor Children's Edition, except instead of island challenges and tribal councils, we had 8-year-olds arguing over who gets to cook dinner with no one supervising the stove. 40 kids, yes 40, were dropped into a dusty ghost town in New Mexico and told to create their own functioning society. No parents, minimal adult interference, and a camera crew ready to capture every emotional breakdown and poorly seasoned bean stew. They called it a social experiment. I call it Lord of the Flies meets CBS Primetime. Within the first few episodes, children were weeping over lack of sleep, fighting over outhouse duty, and trying to figure out how currency works. One kid literally said, "I miss my microwave." Same, buddy. Same. And let's not forget the injuries. Because, spoiler alert, letting kids cook unsupervised with industrial kitchen equipment? Not a great idea. One girl got splashed in the face with boiling grease while frying chicken. Another group accidentally drank bleach, thinking it was soda. That's not drama. That's a lawsuit in a Capri Sun pouch. But wait, it gets worse. The show had a reward system because nothing says childhood development like pitting kids against each other for gold stars worth $20,000. Every week, the kids voted on who worked the hardest, and that person got the gold star, meaning, yes, a bunch of preteens had to hold a little town hall and debate who deserved life-changing money. Well, I think Ashley deserves it because she did the dishes. Actually, I think Tyler deserves it because he didn't cry today. Meanwhile, CBS execs were like, this is compelling television. Now look, as a society, we've accepted some questionable content. We watched people eat cow anus on Fear Factor. We let Simon Cowell psychologically destroy teenagers on American Idol. But Kid Nation? This one made parents clutch their pearls and ask, wait, is this even legal? Answer, barely. CBS got around child labor laws by calling it a summer camp, which is like calling The Hunger Games an outdoor internship. The show aired one season, because when the backlash came, and it came, even CBS was like, so you know what? Maybe next time we'll just do a cooking competition. Still, Kid Nation lives on in the millennial memory bank as the wildest, most morally confusing 2000s TV moment. Ask anyone who watched it and you'll hear the same reaction. OMG, remember that show where the kids ran their own town and literally almost died? Yes, we do, and we still can't believe they actually aired it. The Swan, 2004. Plastic surgery, pageantry, and a full-blown identity crisis. Let me set the stage for you. It's 2004. Low-rise jeans are ruining pelvic dignity across the nation. Paris Hilton is teaching us that that's hot is a lifestyle, not a phrase. And somewhere in a dimly lit reality TV writer's room, a group of men in blazers are going, what if we give women a dozen surgeries and make them compete in a beauty pageant after? Instead of someone saying absolutely not, Fox gave them a whole season. Welcome to the Swan, a show so psychologically unhinged, it made Fear Factor look like a wellness retreat. Here's the concept. Women deemed unattractive by society's nightmare standards were selected for the show. Then, and I'm not exaggerating here, they underwent massive cosmetic transformations. We're talking the full Sims character rebuild. Nose jobs, boob jobs, tummy tucks, veneers, liposuction, facelifts, eyebrow lifts, cheek implants. Basically, if it could be lifted, tucked, trimmed, or injected, they did it. Then, because apparently that wasn't traumatizing enough, they were thrown into a beauty pageant to compete against the other surgically upgraded women for the crown of the Swan. Like, imagine going through a full facial reconstruction and then being told, cool, now go win a swimsuit competition against someone with the same trauma. And oh yeah, they weren't allowed to look in a mirror the entire time. 3 months of surgeries, workouts, therapy, and makeover montages, all while being completely unaware of what they looked like. They had to wait until the final reveal. And that reveal? Televised. Nothing says healing like seeing your new face for the first time on a stage, under stadium lighting, in front of strangers. Now let's talk about the vibe. Each episode was essentially a slow descent into identity annihilation. Contestants would cry in the beginning, confessing how much they hated themselves. Then the camera would zoom in on a doctor saying things like, "We'll rebuild her nose, narrow her jawline, augment the breasts, and fix her weak chin." Weak chin? That chin pays taxes. One contestant had 13 surgeries. 13. I've had relationships shorter than that recovery time. Then, just to twist the knife, only 2 of the women per episode got to go on to the finale. The others just quietly went home. You're beautiful now, but not beautiful enough. Bye. And remember, the whole reason they were here was because they were told they weren't enough. And the solution wasn't therapy. It was scalpels. This show didn't just reinforce beauty standards, it performed a Broadway number about them. One reviewer called it the most sadistic show ever created. Another called it psychological warfare with better lighting. Even the executive producer said he felt queasy watching what they put the women through. You know your show is a red flag when the man who greenlit it is like, yikes. Let's not forget the finale. All the women, now fully swanned, walk out in full pageant attire. Hair extensions swinging, spray tans glowing, teeth whiter than a Republican book club, and then only one wins the title. The rest? Congratulations, you've been permanently altered for TV and still lost. And the name, the Swan, as in, you were an ugly duckling before, but now you're hot enough for prime time. If that doesn't send you into a feminist rage spiral, I don't know what will. Now, let's be fair, at the time, some women said they were grateful. They felt confident and empowered, but in hindsight, it was exploitative AF and incredibly irresponsible. Some of the contestants later said they had mental health issues post-show. One even claimed they were told to act more insecure in early filming to make the transformation more dramatic. Look, I'm not saying the Swan personally broke society, but it definitely cracked the foundation. These days we look back and say that could never air now. But the gag is, it did. We watched it. We hosted watch parties for it. And even now, some part of us can't look away. Not because we agree with it, but because it's the kind of reality TV relic that reminds us just how much pop culture once hated women and made them smile through it with brand new cheekbones. Who's Your Daddy? 2005. The adoption reunion game show nobody asked for. Okay, so real talk. If someone pitched this show today, they'd be chased out of the Netflix building with a ring light. But in 2005, Fox said, yeah, sure, traumatize someone on national TV. Just make it a 1-hour special. Let's talk about Who's Your Daddy? The show title alone should have been enough to make someone slam the brakes. It sounds like a Maury episode wrapped in a frat bro dare. But this was a real primetime special, and the premise, honestly, a full-on ethical minefield. So here's what they did. They found a woman who had been adopted as a baby and had never met her birth father. Then they brought her into a mansion where she was introduced to 25 men. One of them was her actual biological dad. The other 24 were random dudes pretending to be her dad. for money. If she guessed correctly, she got $100,000. If she guessed wrong, the imposter she chose got the money. This wasn't just a family reunion. This was a cash prize mind fear sponsored by Fox. And the kicker? Her real dad was backstage the entire time, watching her bond with total strangers like, cool, cool, cool. She thinks the guy in the pleated khakis is me. Love that for us. Now you might be thinking, surely someone stopped this from airing, right? Like the government, Oprah, a judge? But no, Fox aired it, advertised it, and even filmed multiple episodes, though only one aired, because thank God we had some limits. Let's be clear, this wasn't just some lighthearted find your family content. This was weaponized adoption trauma for ratings. Imagine spending your whole life wondering about your biological parent, and when the moment finally comes, you're on a reality set trying to sniff out your dad like it's The Bachelor, father figure edition. And let's talk about the other contestants, the 24 fake dads. These weren't just seat fillers. They were actively trying to deceive her, saying things like, I remember the day you were born and you have my eyes. And like, bro, this is not a community theater audition for Annie. You are gaslighting someone about her origin story on TV. Critics called it exploitative. Adoption groups lost their minds. 5,000 people filed complaints before it even aired. And the response from Fox? We think it's heartwarming. Heartwarming? Someone call a therapist, or at least a screenwriter with a moral compass. And here's the thing, she actually picked the right guy. The show ended with a big tearful hug, a check for $100,000, and a voiceover like, families come in all shapes and game show formats. But imagine if she hadn't. Imagine if she guessed wrong and the dude she picked was like, thanks for believing in me. Also, I'm not your dad, LOL. And her real father just walks out like, hey, surprise, I was the one watching you cry from behind a curtain this whole time. I'm not saying this show is why Gen Z doesn't trust institutions, but it certainly didn't help. Even for Fox, which at the time had just aired Temptation Island and Joe Millionaire, this was next level messed up. This wasn't just poor taste, this was Marie Antoinette tier detachment from reality. And remember, this was 2005, the same year YouTube launched. We hadn't even figured out what a viral video was yet, and we were already filming Trauma Roulette for prize money. The remaining episodes were shelved, probably because executives realized the lawsuits would be real messy. And in the years since, Who's Your Daddy has become a dark punchline in TV history. The kind of thing you bring up at brunch and people go, wait, that was real? Yes, my loves, it was real. It aired. And somewhere, a network exec probably thought, this is my Emmy moment. But the only award they won was most likely to be cited in a media ethics lecture. Fear Factor, the primetime masochism Olympics. Fear Factor. The only show that said, what if we took a dare from your 7th grade sleepover, put it on NBC, and gave people mild PTSD for money? Between 2001 and 2006, Fear Factor wasn't just a TV show, it was a national endurance test. You couldn't go a week without someone at school asking, would you eat a bull testicle for 50 grand? And horrifyingly, the answer was usually yes. Let's break this down. Premise? Take 6 semi-normal people. Make them do 3 challenges. Something dangerous, something gross, something disgusting and dangerous. Then pay the survivor $50,000, basically hazard pay for humiliation. And the things they did. People literally bathed in bugs, swam with alligators, and hung off helicopters like action movie extras without the insurance coverage. And then, as if that wasn't enough, they'd sit down to a delicious dinner of cow eyeballs and maggot souffle, all while Joe Rogan stood there like some chaos goblin going, this is your final fear? Bon appetit. Shock factor? Let's talk specifics, because you can't just casually mention gross stunts without invoking the trauma. One episode made contestants drink blended rats like a rat smoothie. Blended. Fur, bones, whiskers, all of it. That's not a challenge, that's a war crime. Another involved eating horse rectum. And not just like nibble a corner, number full chew and swallow. There are medieval torture devices that were more humane. There was the tarantula episode, where contestants had to lie in a coffin filled with live ones. Like, no shade to arachnophiles, but why? And of course, cow blood bobbing, a game where you had to fish objects out of a vat of blood with your mouth. This wasn't a game show, this was a televised descent into madness. They aired this. Moments. The donkey semen incident, yep, we're going there, was so intense that even NBC said, okay, maybe we don't air this one. It was an unaired episode from the 2011 revival where contestants were supposed to drink donkey semen and urine, and the network, which had previously greenlit Chew the Cow Anus, finally went too far. There were breath-holding stunts where people passed out underwater. One guy had to hold his breath while unlocking himself from a submerged box, and the lifeguard had to jump in. Like, if the premise of your show is live or die, maybe rebrand as Survivor, Litigated. The cultural impact of Fear Factor normalized some wild stuff. It made eating bugs a totally casual conversation piece. Middle school boys walked around pretending to eat slugs for clout. And if you ever wondered why every youth group retreat in the 2000s included a gross food challenge, blame Fear Factor. It was primetime trauma, and we lapped it up like it was gourmet. Why? Because it hit that sweet spot of, OMG, I could never do that. But like, what if I could? Wait, what if they did worse next week? The dopamine roller coaster was real. Why we watched Joe Rogan before the podcasting empire was just the chaos ringmaster, smirking as people cried mid-centipede feast. It was one of the first shows to really tap into gross-out reality, and it was on a major network, not late-night cable, NBC, right after Friends reruns and local news. It pushed the limits of what family programming could be, because nothing says quality time like watching a woman gag on a cow trachea. Legacy Fear Factor had multiple lives. Original run, 2001 to 2006. Reboot in 2011, canceled again. MTV version with Ludacris in 2017, which honestly felt like Fear Factor light. But none of them hit like the original. Why? Because we've evolved, sort of. We now have TikToks of people eating detergent pods for free, so who's to say? Millennial recollection. We remember Fear Factor, we watched it in secret, hiding from our parents. Or with them, confused why mom was laughing while a guy ate sheep brains. It's the kind of nostalgia that makes you go, wow, we were really unwell. But also, God, do you remember the horse anus episode? And someone always does. The moment of truth? Lie detector roulette for cash and divorce? Before we had Reddit threads and TikTok confessions, there was a magical little corner of 2008 television that asked a brave, horrifying question. What if your most soul-crushing secrets were broadcast to the nation and you got $100,000 for it? Enter the moment of truth, a game show so vicious it made Fear Factor look like a yoga retreat. Let's set the scene. Premise, a contestant sits in a chair, like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, but instead of trivia, it's emotional landmines. They're hooked up to a polygraph. The host, who deserves therapy and hazard pay, reads questions like, have you ever fantasized about your spouse's best friend? And they have to answer truthfully to win money. Each question escalates in risk, and if the polygraph thinks they're lying, they lose everything, even the dignity, especially the dignity. Shock factor. The whole show was basically watching people destroy their personal lives in HD for $500 a question. And it was must-see TV. People admitted to cheating, stealing, hating their spouse, wanting to leave their job, thinking their kids were disappointments, all while their family members sat nearby, trying not to yeet themselves into the sun. One contestant famously confessed, yes, I've had an affair. Yes, I still love my ex. And then, no, I don't think I'm a good person. And the machine said she was telling the truth, and then she lost everything on a later lie. No money, no support, just a nation silently screaming, girl, why? They aired this? Moments. The $500 ruin. One guy lost all his money when the machine flagged him as lying to, have you ever looked at illegal porn? First of all, what a terrifying question. Second, NBC, what were you doing? Another woman admitted, in front of her whole family, that she wished she'd married a different man. The camera then panned to her actual husband. The show might as well have handed him divorce papers mid-taping. A pastor went on and confessed to stealing church money. On television, for prize money. That's not a game show. That's Exhibit A in a federal trial. The ethics dumpster fire. Let's not pretend there weren't layers of wrong here. Lie detectors are notoriously unreliable. They're so sketchy, they're inadmissible in court, but totally fine for ruining lives on television, apparently. The questions were designed to escalate into devastation. Start with, have you ever called in sick when you weren't? End with, did you cheat on your dying mother's final wish? Like, what was the plan if someone said yes? And contestants were pre-tested. The producers knew the answers. They picked the juiciest, most catastrophic questions on purpose. It was reality TV meets Saw Trap. Cultural footprint. In terms of reality TV trauma, The Moment of Truth is top-tier emotional terrorism. It was essentially a polygraph-powered grenade launcher, and the blast radius included marriages, friendships, employment, your ability to attend Thanksgiving ever again, but you can't look away. The show was the ultimate guilty pleasure. So ethically bankrupt, it circled back to genius. Millennial memory. Everyone remembers that one episode, the one that went too far. The one where the contestant lost everything for a question they didn't even want to answer. It was the kind of TV you'd watch through your fingers, then spend a week discussing in aim away messages. Now we look back at it like, was that okay? No, it was not, but it happened. And we watched, and we have the trauma to prove it. Man vs. Beast. Fox said, what if the Olympics, but stupid? Let me just start with a question. Have you ever watched a bear speed eat 50 hot dogs on national television while a competitive eater tried to keep up? Because if the answer is yes, congratulations. You were either very emotionally fragile in 2003 or accidentally tuned into Fox's unholy fever dream known as Man vs. Beast. This wasn't just a show, it was an act of network desperation. The throw spaghetti at the wall and hope PETA doesn't sue us era. Premise. The concept was pure, unfiltered, early 2000s crack. Let's pit humans against animals in Olympic-style challenges for entertainment. Seriously, that was the whole show. Can a Navy SEAL complete an obstacle course faster than a chimpanzee? Can a sprinter beat a giraffe in a 100-meter dash? Can 44 little people tug of war harder than an elephant? Fox executives greenlit it like, yep, makes sense. Put it on after Cops. And you know what? It aired. Twice. Highlights of existential absurdity. Let's just go down the list of things that should have gotten someone arrested. Hot dog showdown. Competitive eater Kobayashi, yes, the world champion, faced off against a Kodiak bear. They each had 3 minutes to eat as many hot dogs as possible. Kobayashi got 31. The bear, aimbadavda. No condiments, no mercy, just raw meat carnage. Navy SEAL versus chimpanzee. They raced through an obstacle course. The chimp smoked him, like mocked his cardio regimen smoked him. 44 little people versus one elephant in tug of war. I swear I am not making this up. The elephant won. And somehow, we were the losers for having witnessed it. Zebra versus Olympic sprinter. The sprinter beat a giraffe, go Team Human, but lost to the zebra. Honestly, the giraffe looked confused the whole time, and I kind of related. They actually aired this? Fox didn't just air it, they made a sequel. Like, hey, what if we took the same idea and added more animals, more ethically questionable stunts, and zero shame? In Man vs. Beast 2, they had a sumo wrestler versus orangutan in tug of war, allegedly filmed, maybe wisely unaired. A camel race against dwarf jockeys, I'm genuinely sorry for typing that sentence, and even a gymnast versus an orangutan on the rings, because nothing screams prime time like exploitative circus cosplay. Backlash and bizarre acceptance. Animal rights activists were like, what in the actual hell is this? PETA and every vet in North America collectively face-palmed. Human dignity advocates, if that's a thing, also tapped out. The New York Times called it utterly dehumanizing. The Telegraph called it the death of culture. Fox called it good Tuesday night ratings. Yet weirdly, viewers tuned in. Because of course we did. It was 2003. The internet was still on dial-up. YouTube didn't exist. This was as close to a viral video as we got. Millennial memory. For those of us who were teens at the time, Man vs. Beast lives in the did I dream that corner of our brain, right next to Pepsi Blue and that one Nickelodeon slime perfume. It's one of those shows you bring up at brunch and everyone goes, wait, that was real? Yes, it was. And you watched a bear dominate a human in an eating contest? Legacy. There is no legacy. Let's be real. Man vs. Beast was a cultural gas leak that aired, did numbers, then evaporated like a lucid dream. It never spawned a franchise, it didn't change television, it just existed. But we remember it. Not fondly, not proudly, but vividly. A Shot at Love with Tila Tequilla, the dating show that gave bisexuality a hot tub and a challenge round. Let's set the scene. It's 2007. You just got home from school. You log off AIM, pour a glass of Sunny D, and turn on MTV. What's on? Not TRL, not Pimp My Ride. No, friend. Tonight, you're watching a tiny MySpace famous woman named Tila Tequilla make 32 people of multiple genders fight for her love in a bisexual bachelor-style cage match. Welcome to A Shot at Love with Tila Tequilla. The premise, it's part The Bachelor, part Jersey Shore, part Fever Dream. Tila Tequilla, model, singer, and MySpace's most followed person at the time, was openly bisexual, which in 2007 was considered a plot twist by network standards. 16 straight men, 16 lesbian women, one mansion. Zero knowledge of what they'd signed up for, literally. MTV brought all 32 contestants in under the assumption they were on a standard dating show. Then in episode 1, Tila appears dramatically and says, "Surprise, I'm bisexual. You're all competing." Cue the chaos. Shock factor, the twist reveal. The contestants look like they just got told their prom date is their cousin. The jealousy, men versus women rivalry hit WWE Royal Rumble levels almost immediately. The drama, punches were thrown, tears were shed, and one contestant punched a wall and had to be removed. Classic MTV content. The challenges, think beer pong but make it emotional, or roller derby with actual injuries, or who can lick Tila best for camera time. The hot tubs, oh the hot tubs! There were scenes. MTV was not shy. This wasn't a tender exploration of sexual fluidity. It was, hey, what if we took a marginalized identity and made it spicy? They actually aired this? Yes, proudly. This was peak trashy MTV era. The same people who brought you Next, Parental Control, and Room Raiders, remember the blacklight scenes? Shudder. And Tila Tequilla was their crown jewel of chaos. Some standout episodes included contestants eating cow testicles in a love-themed version of Fear Factor. A makeout contest judged by Tila in real time? Yes, this happened. Finalists confessing love, only to get booted on national TV while soaking wet in a bikini under fake rain. And you know what? We watched it. In fact, A Shot at Love became MTV's highest-rated new series premiere at the time, because deep down, we're all suckers for a messy, beautiful train wreck. Millennial memory. If you were a teen in 2007, you either watched this in secret after your parents went to bed, or you argued with your friends about who was hotter, Danny the tattooed lesbian firefighter, or Bobby the emotional frat bro with abs. This was probably one of the first times bisexuality was depicted on mainstream cable, even if it was through a lens of chaotic tequila-fueled hookups and vague exploitation. And sure, now we look back and cringe. But at the time, we were starved for queer representation, and MTV handed us this. It wasn't nuanced, it wasn't healthy, but it was something. The aftermath. The show got a second season, a contestant got their own spin-off. Tila, well, she pivoted to a whole other kind of chaos. Nazis, Flat Earth, and the story for another day. And MTV moved on to other hits. Jersey Shore, Teen Mom, etc. But A Shot at Love remains a queer reality TV relic. Problematic, performative, and unforgettable. Legacy today, shows like The Ultimatum, Queer Love, or Are You the One, All Gender Edition, are considered progressive. Back then, Tila Tequilla was the wild bisexual cannonball through the wall that cracked open the door. She didn't walk so others could run. She ran through a vodka-soaked obstacle course in 6-inch heels while producers played Pitbull in the background. In conclusion, A Shot at Love was the bisexual dating show nobody asked for, yet somehow everyone watched. It was messy, mildly offensive, and monumentally iconic. And if you didn't spend your 2007 rooting for Team Danny while hoping nobody drowned in the hot tub, were you even watching MTV? I am still unsure how network execs said yes to all of this. But somehow we did too. You've been watching Cringe Capsule. Thanks for reliving the chaos. See you next dose. Like and subscribe for more. No elimination round necessary.